What I love to do is introduce the right people to the right people.
Assemble the smartest people I can think of or reach out to carry that conversation, and that's exactly what I've done today.
Please give my panel a round of applause. Welcome. Okay guys, Jay Martin here, CEO of Cambridge House, and I'm joined right now by Gerald Celente, the publisher of the Trends Journal, founder and director of the Trends Research Institute. Gerald, it's great to finally have you on the show. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good. No, it's about time. I've followed your content for a very long time, and I'm excited to get you in front of our audience. And where I wanted to start is, you're the trends guy, right? And what I love about that is that I think it's more and more frequent that investors are distracted by noise and they miss the bigger picture trends. And so my question for you right off the bat to jump in is, what is the most important trend right now that investors are missing, that's in a blind spot that we're not paying attention to?
Well, you just mentioned the word investors. So investors, what they do is they look mostly at economic data. And our system of trend forecasting is called globalnomic. It means making connections between different fields. And opportunity misses those who view the world through the eyes of their profession. Mm-hmm. So it's very important, and that's what the magazine, the Trends Journal, let me see what it is. It's like over 100 pages each week, and we cover the world. So yeah, it's important to know. I may not think it's important to know what's going on in Chad or the war going on in Ethiopia against the Tigrays, and what's going on in Eritrea and how they're involved in it in Sudan. Oh, and then there was, again, and then in Mali, and then there's immigration problems, huh? Oh yeah, well, why don't you start putting the whole story together here? And how that's going to affect what the COVID war did in locking down all of these nations, and poverty really increasing and crime going up. And you're going to start seeing a lot of civil unrest on and on. So in other words, you start looking at a bigger picture and getting in touch with the world rather than your special interests. So on the economic front, I mean, the investors know what's going on. The equity markets are totally rigged. You have, in Europe, you have negative interest rates, Japan, negative interest rates, United States, zero interest rates. And then there's a thing called inflation. Well, in the US, it costs now on average $24,000 more to buy a home, to build a home, just because of lumber prices going up. So forget all the other things that are going up. Oh, and then the car dealers can't get enough chips, to make new cars. Oh, okay. So now you look at inflation, you look at zero and negative interest rate policy. You look at how the equity markets were boosted up with all this cheap money, all the merger and acquisition activity going on around the world because of cheap money. Oh, going back to housing and inflation, in the USSA, the United Soviet States of America, they don't include the rising prices of homes to go into the consumer price index.
Right.
So their prices of homes only have gone up 17.2% from March 2020 to March 2021. But we won't put that number in there because we're always screwing the people. We'll do it any way we can, because if we have higher numbers in inflation, that means all those millions of people on Social Security, we don't have to pay them anymore because the Social Security goes up as the inflation goes up. So we'll keep the inflation way down so we don't have to pay out more money, and we can take that money and give it to our friends in the military industrial complex, and on and on. So what they really have to start looking at is, because as inflation goes up, central banks are going to have to raise interest rates. The 2% interest rate level that they have in the United States, the 2% inflation rate in the United States, that was made up in 2012. And the same thing in Europe, where we have a 2% inflation rate. Go screw yourself. You're making this crap up. Of course we're making it up. We make up all the crap. We're a bunch of crapsters. We'll do anything that we like. So the fact is, they don't have as Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, says, we have the tools in case inflation goes higher. What tools? We'll make up more crap. They're going to be raising interest rates at some point.
Yeah.
When interest rates go up, the markets are going to crash. It's as simple as that. Go back to 2018, 2019. Listen to Donald Trump screaming and yelling at the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates because the economy and markets were going down. And again, taking a global perspective, let's go back to 2019. Oh, that place called Germany, the richest, most advanced nation in Europe, was going into a recession in the end of 2019. Oh, this is before the COVID war began in 2020.
Yeah.
Oh, you only had what, 7 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth in India, declining GDP growth in India.
Sure.
Before this happened. Oh, now India's all locked down again.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I want to pull on that thread. Oh my God, there's like a ton of here I want to unpack. So let's dial it back to, you mentioned the blind spots. We don't pay a lot of attention, maybe because of the COVID war. And, next up, we're going to be focused on, in your words, climate change will be the next war we're all going to be bombarded with from a media standpoint. But we miss things like the conflict in Chad, like the conflict in Lebanon, like the conflict in Ethiopia, Eritrea, and how that's going to impact immigration, how that's going to impact civil unrest. One topic that keeps on coming up in my interviews, Gerald, is the emerging markets trade. And I've heard you talk about the submerging markets impact as a consequence of this pandemic. So can you elaborate on a little bit? Are you seeing a divergence between, there's some emerging markets that have healthier balance sheets in the developing world. They're going to come out of this a lot stronger because they didn't stimulate it nearly as much. But there's a handful of markets that are just about to be crushed because of this global response.
Yeah, again, what you're looking at, the emerging markets, they're going to submerge the most because, they locked down and they weren't doing that great, and they have debt. Yeah, they didn't put a lot more money in, but they have huge debt.
Comparatively, yeah.
And so they have to pay back that debt. And then again, if the dollar stays strong, their debt level goes up because most of their debt is in dollars.
Yeah.
So it depends on where the dollar is going. But there are going to be the bigger picture to look at when you're looking at emerging markets, as we look at it, is China's involvement in them.
Okay.
And as we said in one of our top trends for 2021, China's the 21st century.
Yeah.
The 20th century was the American century. The 21st century is going to be the Chinese century. The business of America has been war. The business of China is business. So now China, with all their Belt and Road Initiative, what countries are they going in, and what countries in the Belt and Road Initiative are pulling back? Those are the emerging markets that we think are going to be stronger, the ones that China's more involved in. And what you're seeing, for example, with Hong Kong, when the flu broke out in Wuhan, China, they locked it down. That was in January of 2020. Yeah. They couldn't stop the Hong Kong protests until they started locking down everywhere. Now those protests are over. I'm only mentioning that because there's been no blowback, and now more and more companies, banks, are going into Hong Kong, into China, knowing that the Chinese markets are China's going to continue to grow. They have the dual circulation policy. They're going to be relying less on exports and more on building their internal economy. They only have 1.4 billion people to do business with.
Sure.
So the dual circulation, both ends. So to me, the focus is those are the countries, that's the country really to follow very closely in what they're doing, where they're going, and how they're doing it. Go back to the United States. You're just hearing now that they're coming out with another program besides the couple of $1 trillion of the so-called infrastructure program, of only which 220 billion out of the, depending on what numbers keep coming out, 3 billion, 2.3 billion are going into infrastructure. The rest is going into other crap. Yeah. And now they're coming out with another maybe $1.5 trillion plan to give more money to the people.
Yeah.
So the United States is going to go going down hard. Where is the dollar going to go? Where's the yuan going to go? Where's the euro going to go? And those are the things to look at when you're looking ahead.
Sure, sure.
So when you're looking at the euro, I mean, European Union's not. Well, Germany just locked down most of the country again. Not going to open up until the end of June.
Yeah.
And again, they were going down before. Yeah. And now the tourism thing, do you have a passport, a green passport to travel? And double-digit GDP growth, GDP numbers are relying on tourism in a lot of Eurozone. So where is it going to go? Those are the things to look at.
Okay, now I have, again, a string of questions and threads I want to pull on there. Prior to those, though, one thing that came to mind as you were talking about the 20th century belonging to the US, the 21st century belonging to China, and that's a narrative we hear more and more about. I think China's made it their mandate to become the world's global superpower by 2040. And that's their public statement. When you look at the impact of the 20th century belonging to the US and the westernization of so many other countries and the influence of United States American culture on these countries, do you see a similar impact then, Gerald, when if China becomes that global superpower from a cultural standpoint spread globally?
It's already happened.
Okay, so talk to me about that. There we are.
All right?
All right.
Used to make fun of them for wearing these things.
Sure, yeah.
Who would have ever dreamt a year ago that you'd be wearing, and the reason they were wearing them over in China, it's only because 1.5 million people a year die of air pollution.
Yeah.
That's why they wear this.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But you look at one of the covers of our magazine last year when everybody started locking down. Who would have ever believed this would have been done in democracies?
100%.
China did it. We'll do it.
Sure.
We had Tank Man 2.0. Tank Man was from Tiananmen Square where the guy stood in front of the tank.
Yeah.
And Anthony Fried, who does the covers of our magazine, they're phenomenal. He had 3 tanks, and one of them was the COVID tank of the guy, and with a face of Mao Zedong in the background. And it said, the Chinese way, you will obey. The governments have already become the Chinese way. You don't have democracy anymore. Hey, I'm the governor. I'm the premier. I'm this, I'm that. I got an executive order. You're going to close down your business. I'll tell you who can open.
Yeah.
Democracy, screw you. What Bill of Rights? It's already happened.
Okay. I'm with you. Okay. Now, not to pivot too much, but I've heard you say the next war we're going to fight is the war on climate change. That's going to replace the media narrative, the dominating headlines, all this stuff. Truthfully, after the war on COVID, that sounds really refreshing and relaxing. But talk to me about what that really means, Gerald.
It's a lot of bullshit. That's all it is. I mean, it's them to do what they want to do and make money and how they want to do it. I mean, you take electric vehicles, nobody talks about all the rare earth minerals that have to be mined and the pollution and the radiation from all of this that goes into the ecosystem. Oh, but it goes into batteries. Oh, batteries. When were they invented? Oh, 1800.
Sure.
Yeah. It's a archaic technology. And you're looking at the numbers, 4% of the and where are you getting the power from to regenerate the battery? Oh, you're getting, how are you gonna get that power to that? Where's it coming from?
Yeah.
It's government bullshit to take over more stuff. Hey, how about these things that are polluting everywhere?
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. It's atrocious.
The numbers are there.
100%.
Oh, and on the fibers in these things that when you breathe them in, how deadly they are. We'll forget about that. And now all the plastic. You're talking about climate change? Oh, how about all the pesticides, all the chemicals, all of what they're putting into our food that's killing us in 1,000 different ways? The artificial flavors, artificial covers, preservatives, on and on. We won't talk anything about that. We'll talk about climate change.
Sure.
But now when you look at it and you pass the BS of it, you say, okay, as an investor, what am I going to invest in? Where am I going to go? These are the markets. These are the sectors that are going to grow within it. So we put the big picture together, show it what it is, And then we say, okay, this one, that one, this one, that one, that's where it's going forward.
Okay, so let's get granular then. Where is the opportunity right now, Gerald?
Well, that's up to the investors to look at.
Sure.
You know, the people that we put out the information, these are the ones that where we see it growing. All right, let's bring it back to a whole nother level. Gold and silver.
Okay.
Silver. Oh, it's the best conductor of electricity that we know of. Way better than copper. Oh, we're going now more toward climate change? That means more solar. Oh, don't you use, what do you use silver in? How many different areas that are going to be affected in climate change?
Yeah.
So where do the prices of silver go? Where are the companies to invest in? What are the products that are going to be used for climate change? What are the companies to invest in? And let's go back to that climate change. They had that young woman, that girl that was making the news every week before the COVID war broke out. It was climate change, climate change, climate change.
Yeah. Greta.
So, yeah, and that's what's going to happen again. But that, I always mention this, nobody could predict the future. People say I'm a futurist, and I'm not a futurist. There are too many wild cards. Who would have ever believed, the COVID war? And so you don't know the wild cards are going to be played in between this that are going to change the game like that.
Sure.
Never could happen. Look what's going on in the Middle East. Oh, Middle East. Well, what's going on in the Middle East? Oh, you mean between Israel and Iran that keeps heating up and getting hotter and hotter? Mm-hmm. Oh, where are oil prices going to go if things break out over there more? Oh, what will that do with inflation? So again, you have to look at the big story.
I'm with you on that. Now, so much of what you say makes me think about my investment philosophy as, I utilize the barbell approach, right? Familiar. It's, from Taleb's book, Anti-Fragile. I've got some really conservative assets like cash, gold, real estate. To me, that's conservative. And then I have some highly speculative investments, cash I can afford to lose, but I see, and to me, that's, to your point, how do you invest? So, okay, if we're making this transition to renewable energy, I don't want to personally invest in utility companies. I'm going to go all the way down to the ingredients. For me, that's, yes, silver, copper, nickel, maybe lithium, maybe some obscure rare earths. But that allows me, I hope, and you tell me what you think, to step back from all that noise, step back from the wild cards, because I've got my solid base foundation, my real estate, my cash, my gold, that hopefully, is my hedge against whatever wild card is thrown at me. And then I make my asymmetric bets in the speculative industries that I think have the chance. And I hope that protects me from whatever wild card is thrown. But what do you think, Gerald?
Absolutely it will, but it will also not only the ones that are going to go up, you're going to bet on the ones that are going to go down.
Sure.
So let's look at air travel, for example. Where do the airlines make the most amount of money? Business travel.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
Right? Boom, 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 boom. One company after another going to cut back on business travel.
You think so?
You don't make money by people flying, tours and that kind of thing. It's the cheap seats. So what's going to happen to the airline industry? Oh, now you got to get your passport.
Yeah.
So your green passport. I don't mean the other passport, the one that shows you got vaccinated. Yeah. How many people aren't going to get vaccinated? What's that going to do to the industry? Now, how about the hospitality sector? How's that going to keep affecting that? So it's the longs and the shorts.
Now, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, business travel within the US is back to like 90% of pre-pandemic levels. Would you dispute that?
Yeah, not at all.
Okay.
And matter of fact, what you're seeing, office occupancy rate in New York City?
Yeah.
14%.
That's terrifying. I heard.
Yeah, so how could they're sort of full of crap. It's not happening.
Right.
And then business people aren't traveling.
Okay, so following that thread then, you look at, occupancy rate in New York City, the global financial center, at 14%, air travel not recovering. Those are just two obvious industries, but the small to medium businesses that have been hit and haven't recovered are far more widespread than that. So do you align with this insolvency crisis thesis? Do you think we're heading towards some kind of a nationwide small to medium business enterprise bankruptcy crisis?
Absolutely. The bigs are taking over everything. Look at the numbers. Over $1 trillion more was spent last year on online. Over $1 trillion more.
Sure. Right. Filtered by very few companies. Yeah.
Right. And then you look at all the merger and acquisition activity going on.
Right.
Because the money's so cheap.
Yeah.
So the bigs are going to get bigger and the middles are going to keep, again, the numbers are there. What the billionaires got $1 trillion richer during the COVID war.
Yeah. So then do you see some kind of a decoupling like we've seen?
I'm sorry, they got $8 trillion richer, not a trillion. $8 trillion richer.
Yeah,
$4 trillion richer just in the United States.
Okay. So then that brings up an interesting question, because we've seen this decoupling occur between the equity markets and the economy, right? Economy has been at a standstill, depressed, nothing's going on, government mandated recession, essentially. Meanwhile, the equity markets have been on fire, and it's like, this divergence doesn't make any sense. But I've also heard you talk about the Biden bounce, right? This temporary, somewhat of a fallacy, but it will occur, the Biden bounce. Simultaneously, you're forecasting for small to medium businesses to go bust at like a widespread. So do you see another decoupling there where the economy seems strong because certain businesses are just dominating market share? Meanwhile, the entrepreneurs and the small businesses are going bust?
Well, there'll be a lot of entrepreneurs that make it, and new entrepreneurs are going to be coming in, particularly in bigger cities, because rents are going to go way down. There's going to be a commercial real estate bust, big time.
Okay.
These companies, they're leveraged to, high end. And you have now so many major firms saying that, they're not going to renew their lease, or they're going to renew it and they're cutting back, 50% of the occupancy. People aren't going to be commuting like they were before.
No.
I mean, you go back to New York, you think you want to commute an hour and a half each way on the LIE? I mean, you're happy that you're not commuting and working home maybe 3 days a week.
Sure.
But going back to entrepreneurs, there'll be new entrepreneur opportunities. There's no question about it.
Okay.
And the Biden bounce, it's real. I mean, it's going to happen all over the world. It's going to keep happening because people have been locked down. They want to go out and they're going to be spending money. But it's only going to last for so long. And again, when interest rates go up, the whole game changes. 2% is our level. In the United States, if interest rates are 2%, boom, finito, done, gone. The housing boom, finished. Equity market boom, over. Which of the real estate will go up, which of the real estate will go down. This is what we keep, as part of the subscription of the Trends Journal. These are the kind of things we're writing about.
Yeah.
But there's no question this is going to be boom time. And by the way, there's never been an better opportunity that we see, and we were developing what they are, the products, the services, and the styles. Whole new time to be creative. The young people, this is an old people's virus. The recovery rate of people 1 to 20 years old, according to the CDC, is 99.997%.
Sure.
The people that are dying are elderly people in nursing homes, and people with 2.6 pre-existing comorbidities. They can't stand what's going on. All of them, no, but the hip group. Very important, and I got to wrap it up.
I know you do.
Art. Look at art to find the future. And again, having nothing to do with the investment world. And this is the difference of what we do as trend forecasters with our globalnomic system. Artists used to be the ones that were totally anti-establishment because they know what a bunch of low-life scum politicians are and who they are. And they were the people of freedom. Remember, the soul of America was black, from ragtime to swing, to rhythm and blues, to rock and roll, to Motown. And then the geeks came in and they made it synthesize. You don't have to play with your heart. You don't have to play with your soul. We could make it digital. Digital. AI, artificial intelligence, as good as artificial flavors, artificial flowers, and artificial colors. They lost the soul. The soul is dead. It's dead. Shove your rap up your crap. Don't want to hear it. Got my own. Doesn't enlighten the soul. Go back to art. The establishment. From Mick Jagger to Willie Nelson to you know who and everybody else. Get that vax. Get that vax. You're a freak if you don't get that vax. I believe what they're telling me. Art, digital art selling for what, $23 million?
Sure.
The importance of this is that art is dead. It's dead. The Grammys, dead. Oscars, dead. What was the viewer rate down? 58%, almost 60%. It's dead. Entrepreneur, opportunities, investment, opportunities. Look for the new way. It's coming. And we're following it. And we're starting to see signs of it. Whole different world. The young have nothing to do with the old.
Okay. Gerald, I know thank you. I know you're done. You're done. You told me we had a hard 25 minutes. So we'll wrap it up. Look, I appreciate you coming on. This is great. And I want to have you back on down the road. So I appreciate your time. Glad I got you in front of the audience, and I'd love to do it again sometime.
Great. And again, have them check out the Trends Journal. Go to trendsjournal.com. There's no magazine like it in the world. And I'm not saying it because it's ours, but I just bought this Time magazine.
Okay.
$8.
Yeah.
$8 for this piece of nothing. Nothing. A piece of zero. Last week's news next week. The Trends Journal is tomorrow's news today. History before it happens. I want to find one quick thing to read you.
Let's do it.
Show you how ridiculous this thing is and what crap they're shoving down our throat. I talked about the Oscars. You can pretend not to care. This is the opening paragraph. You can tend not to care about Oscars, but even the most hardened souls secretly thrill to their glamour. As we'd say in the Bronx, go F yourself. I'll see you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Joe. All right.
Bye-bye.